Howdy, and welcome to LeeReads, where I talk about the books I've been reading and enjoying lately. Today, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why you should read The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. The Eye of the World is the first novel in the Wheel of Time series, which is an adult epic fantasy series about good versus evil. But at its heart, The Eye of the World is a story about 3 best friends from a village nobody's ever heard of who get wrapped up in prophecy. Sure, every good sheep herder or blacksmith's apprentice or dairy hand dreams of adventure. But when their village is attacked by creatures that came out of horrible legend, that dream turns into a nightmare. The prophecy that's found them, one of them is destined to be able to touch the power that will inevitably make him go insane, but enable him to defeat the Dark One, which the Dark Lord has decided to nip in the bud by trying to kill, capture, or turn the 3 of them before the prophecy can come to pass, sending them to the one place that may be able to help them to survive the Dark One's forces. But help is a relative term, and who do you trust when the wheel of time begins to turn again? First reason to read The Eye of the World. It actually can be read as a standalone novel. If you are looking at this 14-book series plus a prequel, so 15 books, and you're intimidated by that length and don't know if you have it in you to commit to that, then don't. Just read The Eye of the World. There will be some larger threads and story arcs that of course aren't concluded in the first book. However, the first book itself does have a comprehensive plot and tells a story that does have a satisfying finish. If you just want to read one book and give it a try, you can do that without suffering major cliffhangers. I do like to point out though that the prologue of The Eye of the World does have a different tone and feel than the rest of the book. So if you pick up the prologue and you're not quite sure if it meshes with your favorite reading style, you don't have to read it, to be frank. It helps give you some context if you do. But then just start at chapter 1. That's where the heart of the story truly starts. The second reason to read The Eye of the World is that it is the first book of a long series that's complete. So you know when you start the series, you will be able to read it as fast as you want to read it without having to wait years between books. A note about the prequel novel before The Eye of the World: you don't have to read it before you read The Eye of the World. In fact, I would recommend reading it maybe before or after book 2, because you'll have a little bit more context to appreciate some of the setup that you're being shown in the prequel. This is the prequel. I would recommend going ahead and starting with The Eye of the World though. As far as its place in the series, The Eye of the World is very well paced. The action starts right away and keeps going throughout the whole book. You don't have to worry about any saggy middles. The third reason to read The Eye of the World is that there are some wonderful characters in these series, and you begin to meet some of them in The Eye of the World. This is an expansive world with many different nationalities. There's a lot going on, but it's given to you in bite-sized pieces. In The Eye of the World, there are only 3 point-of-view characters. 2 of them are important major characters, but you only get their perspective for some of the time, and you're primarily following one main character. So you're starting to get glimpses of how the plot may expand and how the world may expand. But in The Eye of the World, it is pretty tightly woven so that you can ease into this world and begin to be exposed to all of the things, but in a digestible format. It's not a novel where you're totally unanchored and unsure who everyone is and what's going on. In The Eye of the World, you very clearly are following the set of characters and stay with them throughout the novel. The fourth reason that you should read The Eye of the World is because it was foundational for the time it was written. It was published in 1990 and was formative for many fantasy authors who have begun writing since then. And you can see that in some aspects that may seem familiar to you. This is when they were done for the first time in the mainstream. It's not The Lord of the Rings. It's a different flavor of fantasy. Although it does focus on good versus evil, we are following different tropes. We have the chosen one, farm boy, fatal prophecy trope with twists. There are other subverted tropes within the series as well. For example, the mentor character is not who or what you might expect. It also feels a little bit like a thriller kind of run for your life vibes because they are being hunted down by the enemy, and you are learning about the reasons why with the characters. There's a unique and I think pretty cool magic system that you begin to learn about throughout the story with, I think, some really cool world building aspects woven in with the magic system. One note though is that from a modern standpoint, the magic system could be considered a little bit problematic because it is gendered. But how the characters wield this magic and the variety of different things they can do with it, various trade-offs that you have for wielding this magic are really impactful in the story. There are other really cool world building aspects. This is a fallen world. There was a previous great civilization, technologically advanced, that you may get snippets of seeing here and there, but that time has gone. The world was broken and it rebuilt, and so now civilization is building itself back up. You also see how this traumatic breaking of the world because of the magic has impacted the environment now. There are pockets of darkness or areas where you can see how this tainted magic has impacted the world and provides real consequences to the characters. I think the combination of the world building, the magic system, the characters, the drama that they're caught up in make a really compelling story that I personally really enjoy. I still firmly remember where I was when I was reading this novel for the first time, and that feeling of being swept up in the story so much that I didn't want to put it down. It just grabbed me and I ran away with it. And that's why I recommend that you give this novel a try. And the fifth reason that you should read this novel is because the audiobooks are narrated by Michael Kramer and Kate Redding, who are wonderful. They are my favorite audiobook narrators. They do an excellent job with the series. And so if you love them for narration, this is just a wonderful excuse to listen to more by them. And it's so great to listen to how young they sound as they're narrating these novels compared to present day, how their voices have kind of changed, and yet it's still that familiar voice. I've listened to the audiobook so many times that I just have certain phrases just locked in my head forever. The bonus reason why you should read The Eye of the World is because in a couple of months, Amazon will be releasing the show, The Wheel of Time. And don't you want to read the novel before you watch the show? Yes, you do. Those are 5 reasons why I think that you should read The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. It is a fantasy novel that will live fondly in my heart forever, and now I want to go reread it since I've been talking about it. I also highly recommend the rest of the series. The series itself is another discussion, but it is complete and does have a very satisfying ending. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe this video if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to support your local library. Bye.